There's another mystery in the air tonight. A small plane took off from Rochester, New York today, bound for Florida. Then it flew off course for hours. It never landed, and when the pilot did not respond to radio contact, NORAD took charge. Fighter jets were scrambled. Mike Armstrong picks up the story for us.
The TBM-900 is a brand new aircraft. The very first delivery was this past March. In a ceremony, the keys were handed over to the man in the light blue shirt, American real estate developer Larry Glazer. Well, this morning, Glazer and his wife Jane took off from Rochester, New York, south of Toronto, just before 8:30 a.m. The intended destination was Naples, Florida. There are reports the pilot radioed air traffic controllers that he was having a problem, but after 10 a.m., there was no further contact. At 11:30, the U.S. deployed 2 F-15s to check on the plane. Those pilots got close enough to look into the turbojet. They reported the windows were frosted and the pilot appeared to be slumped over.
Breathing. I could see his chest rising and falling. Right before I left, it was the first time we could see that he was actively breathing. And it may be a deal where, depending on how fast they descend, he may regain consciousness once the aircraft starts descending for fuel starvation.
The plane continued out of U.S. airspace, flew over Cuba, and eventually crashed about 20 kilometers off the coast of Jamaica. At the airport where the doomed flight began, the deaths are being called a devastating loss.
They were personal friends of mine, as well as amazing community leaders, philanthropists in so many ways.
Now, what happened to the flight appears to be consistent with something called cerebral hypoxia. It happens when there's a loss of pressure in the plane at a high altitude.
There's a leak inside the fuselage caused by the loss of integrity of the aircraft, and we've seen that a few times in commercial aviation history.
The Americans delivered by Payne Stewart.
The most high-profile case of hypoxia was the death of golfer Payne Stewart. His Learjet flew for hours, again with frosted windows. It eventually crashed. All 6 people on board were killed. Basically, in both cases, the aircrafts became ghost planes, flying on autopilot, everyone on board possibly already dead from a loss of oxygen. According to medical experts, the victims usually aren't even aware anything is happening. They simply fall asleep. Between the depressurization and altitude, they never had a chance.
Over and above the decreased oxygenation at altitude, altitude itself has further implications and further neurological effects on the body.
Well, if you're going to have a healthy region...
Glazer was a very experienced pilot. He had more than 5,000 accident-free hours, and he was a big fan of the aircraft. Glazer was the president of the TBM Pilots and Owners Association. The plane today was an upgrade, the 3rd he'd purchased. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.